Hey guys, it's Tom Box. Welcome to MST.TV. I bet you guys are super excited with the upcoming ban list, of course. Block Dragon's gone, lots of problems are out of the way. So, with that being said, this is going to be the damage report of September 2020. There are winners, there are losers, and there's a lot of potential shifts going up and down, and that's what we're going to talk about. I got a couple of decks I want to talk about, and then we'll look at some of the potential top tier material, high tier material, or things that might be just a sleeper deck just waiting to explode. Alright guys, so make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button, hit subscribe, ding notification bell, and let's get to it. Now, let's start off with a quick refresher. Now, the list is going live on September 14th. I'm going over our entire list here. For banned stuff, we have Block Dragon, Jet Synchron, and Mecha O-Lion. Block Dragon was pretty obvious. It's mainly for our Rock deck, and that's a major hit. In fact, I think Rocks probably took the biggest damage on this entire list. Jet Synchron is banned as well. So for anyone that's playing pure Synchrons, for like Yusei decks, that's unfortunate. One of your best tuners is basically gone, thanks to the collateral damage from I guess Halqifibrax and also O-Lion and probably Despot 01. And then there's also our Mecha O-Lion, played differently in different decks. Every single deck utilizes it for a different purpose. You have like Infernobles using it to mainly go into Metal Marcher. I think Metal Marcher was the key reason why this one's banned, of course. And okay, going into the limited, we have Rusty coming back. In fact, most cards are coming back except for Call by the Grave going down to 1. This is a questionable hit, guys. Like seriously, I think there could have been like other choices, but I think it's really there to push Triple Tactics Talents as a great card. In fact, that card spiked up quite a bit already. If you guys didn't pick it up, last week, well, prepare for a big surprise. And looking at Double Iris Magician, Triff is probably going ham on this one. I've seen him already just spending all his time dumping or just doing his own thing with his copy of Double Iris. I just want to keep this PG, guys. And then there is, of course, Harpy's Feather Duster. Control decks are taking a hit, not in the form of, well, hitting their deck, but rather in a form where we get to nerf their entire board. Basically, we get a Dark Hole for back row. That's great. Well, not Dark Hole. We get a Raigeki for back row. So that's pretty cool. Call by the Grave, though, I think there's another note for Call by the Grave, is that it could have been maybe Crossout Designators coming out in Phantom Rage. Okay, maybe not. Okay, then there is Semi-Limits. And yeah, we got to X out that Tour Guide because Tour Guide is no longer fit for that role. Maybe Tour Guide can go to the bottom now because she's back to 3. I guess normal summons are a bit too slow, but okay, looking at Semi-Limits, we got Seer and Graph. BA getting a lot of love. These are some really crucial cards in those decks, especially Graph being able to special summon from the deck. Ooh, this is going to be pretty big. And then Totally Awesome also getting some love. I guess Marine says, Mermails, they're going to get some love right there. Or maybe even Gishki, maybe? And then ABC Dragon Buster. There's a lot of potential with that card. I mean, putting it down to 1 really crippled it down because once you use the 1 copy, that's it. Now you have 2 copies, and Buster has some of the best timing and chain interaction that I've seen in this game. So be warned that you're probably going to see a couple of Buster builds here and there. 1 to 3, we have our Tour Guides. We have Tour Guide. Then we have Bakura, the Destructor. Note that it's going to get its effect expire in 2 weeks. Fun facts about his ruling: this card doesn't actually activate. So as long as you can put it into the graveyard, there is no way you can actually negate it. So that being said, abuse it as much as you can for now. The database has not updated yet. Thank you guys for queuing me in. Then there is Evil Gishki Gus Kraken. Gus Kraken is the one that loops your hand. You can summon him as many times as you want. I don't think it has an errata on him. So if you can find some way to abuse it, you have a new hand loop deck. And you know what's the best part about this particular hand loop? It loops them back into the deck, and therefore not setting anyone up for anything. And even if your opponent does not have 2 cards, you can always loop the last card back in because it's up to 2 cards they randomly show you. And then of course Monarchs are back too. Like, this list is huge for a lot of decks moving forward, and Monarchs is going to be among them. And for Sky Strikers, they threw them a little bit of a anchor to kind of, well, I can't even come up with a bad pun here, but it's just that they get another Widow Anchors to get a bit more control, but it's no engage, so I'm not overly too threatened by it because even with 2 Widow Anchors, they were still plenty strong as they were. So that's going to be the damage report. We got some losers, we got some survivors. Let's move on. So for big survivors on this ban list, we have probably VFD. Everyone really hates this card. I get that in the meta scene, a lot of people started to kind of cut this card out because there is Forbidden Droplets being played, and it's easy counter to this. Another deck that really survived, I didn't really put them up here, would be Numerons. Since Numerons are still going to be a thing, Christian Halqifibrax, of course, completely dodge it. Smoke Grenade, letting us confiscate a card out of our opponent's hand. That's pretty good. And of course, let's not even talk about the Dragon Link. They were completely unfazed. They are still at full power. And the thing is, they're a top tier deck. I don't get why they were untouched, but Shinping Zhu, I guess it has the Zhu Shield. That's what I'm going to call it, the Zhu Shield. And okay, for losers, of course, Jet Synchron, Block Dragon, O-Line, and Call by the Grave. Let's go on to our first report. Let's go into Adamacipator, because Adamacipator is kind of in an interesting spot. Now, they, of course, lost 3 copies of Block Dragon and 1 copy of Mecha Phantom Beast O-Line out of their deck. It's a pretty significant loss. I mean, they don't technically play 40. Some people play up to like 43, 44. With that said, how crucial was O-Line? It was the key piece that threatened you. It was the one that where if Christian Halqifibrax activated its effect, you would ash it so they don't get an O-Line, and they would require a follow-up. And if they had that follow-up and they can just extend through it, then they still had a full combo. But the full combo will require them to go into the Block Dragon. And the Block Dragon will fetch them an additional 3 rocks to keep their plays going. So in other words, their mid-play combo is, well, kind of thrown off balance. That means they're way more susceptible to hand traps now. And their endgame recovery is just, well, there is no real recovery now because that was mainly Block Dragon's job. So definitely they're not going to be as resilient. They're not going to be as sticky. But that said, what did they gain? Well, how did they replace the thing that they lost? The thing is, Christian Halqifibrax is still very much a live card. I mean, you can still fall back to older ways of playing for Adamancipators. They didn't start off playing like this, but of course, eventually the meta was so developed to the point that this is the final boss list for Adamancipators. I mean, there are other options too. You can throw in fossils in there if you really want to, but that's going to be a completely different playstyle. But if you're going to go with playstyle shifts, then maybe that's an option where you start to use your opponent's graveyard against them with the fossil fusion stuff. But overall, if you can still go into Christian Halqifibrax, then what you get is the same combo. You can go to the Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon. I get that you don't have the O-Line part anymore, but there are alternatives. You can still play, maybe you can shove in a copy of Despot 01, play Mecha Phantom Beast Colt Wing, which is a pretty popular option, and maybe you can do the exact same boards. Or you can go back to the old Synchro roots of the deck, where you could play with cards like Nat Beast, Crystal Wing, Synchro Dragon. You can still make the same boards, but let's not forget about recent stuff that was released. You can still go into Dragoons. Dragoons is still a very strong card to get your negates back on. You can't really be killed. It's a very powerful option paired with Borreload Savage, and if you can do the Buster Lock on top of that, I don't think it's overall that bad. The problem is, of course, getting hand trapped. Hand trapping you will basically always be effective at this point, simply because you're trying to play into one combo now, and that combo doesn't exactly have very many ways to extend anymore or even recover because Block Dragon's gone. Usually, I fail, I make Block Dragon, get more pieces, keep going. That's not possible anymore, so that's a pretty big deal. So maybe we'll find other ways. So overall, it's weakened in combo safety and weakened in recovery. Is it like dead? The boards that they build are still very strong. Next, we have Eldritch Synchron, or rather, it's no longer really a Synchron build because they lost a lot. They took terrible damage. The engine is dead, the combos are not. Well, being an Eldritch deck, let's face it, Eldritch didn't lose any part of their key engine. I guess most cards from Secret Slayers remained untouched. But looking at, say, just look at the Jet Synchron stuff. Like, the package was 3 Jet Synchrons, 2 O-Lions, and 3 Tunings. That's 8 cards out of 40. That's 20% worth of damage right there. That is that is definitely significant. While your deck gains, you can swap your engine. You can not play the Synchron engine. You can swap it for Dogmatica engine if you're willing to throw the money into it, or you can go for the Invoked engine, which you previously already played. It's not that bad, and or you can play a mix of both if you want. It feels like maybe that's a bit too much. Maybe I'm going a bit too far. Or you can find a new Synchro engine, maybe Plague Spreader. It seems like there's been a lot of hype for Plague Spreader because Plague Spreader is basically one of the final tuners that are able to summon themselves back out, providing you an additional body, but at the cost of one card in your hand because you have to top deck it back on, which is not too bad if you're playing stuff like, you know, Gamma stuff. But looking into this, combo losses, of course, you have 0% chance of using the Jet Synchron combo anymore. So 1-card combo. If there's other 1-card combos, let me know. Even 1.5 by 1.5, you have to have a discard outlet. But like, even if you have any type of combo to go into, you know, the needle fiber stuff, then it's fine. There's different ways that you can execute your combos. Colt Wing, as I mentioned before, like, why don't I just describe the combo to you guys? You go with like the Despot 01 with the Crystron, Halqifibrax, then you make the Auroradon and 3 tokens that summons back out the triple 001. So, you know, Despot 01, and then we make the Herald, and then you use the effect of Auroradon to summon out the Colt Wing, which summons out simultaneously 2 tokens, which activates the 001 once again. But don't forget that the Colt Wing will gain levels based off of those monsters, so you synchro your 2 tokens into shooting Riser Dragon, and Riser will be able to send a card into the graveyard. But instead of sending a card to the graveyard to kind of modify its level, you're going to banish it because the Herald of Arclight is already on the field, so the level does not change. You send a Dotscaper summons itself back out, and now you have a 1 and a 7 to make the Borderlord Savage. The board is basically the same, but you have to run maybe more bricks in this case. So that part is unfortunate. If you want it to be consistent, you don't want to draw into this stuff, then you're going to have to run multiple copies, which I'm not a fan of. And what's worse is you have to run multiple copies of Colt Wing too, because if you don't get there, you don't get there. That means it's a high risk engine now, which can be more bricky in my opinion. Because unlike O-Lion, if you drew it into your hand, you are fine. Because you can O-Lion into another O-Lion, and you can banish one to summon the O-Lion out. You can keep the Auroradon out completely, but now it's not the case, and it just makes things a lot more difficult. And it's difficult to use Blue Impala because Blue Impala forces you to, well, summon wind monsters. Yeah, so there's a lot of limitations, and well, if you can find a new engine, go ahead and swap it. Otherwise, Eldritch, you guys are still very much on top, just that the synchro side of the engine is well, non-existent. So for Infernoble Knights, I know they only took like a small hit, but that was a crucial one because O-Line was such a crucial part of this entire deck. It allowed you to get, well, basically a level 2 tuner and a level 3 token from one monster, and the level management was a lot easier because the spacing would just remove itself and summon itself after the fact, and it was just really good. And maybe you also lost copies of Call by the Grave, and you know what? That's fair. I don't know why. Maybe they're really trying to push the Tactic Talents thing. Tactic Talents is really good because you can use the steal cards like Dragoons and take it, pop it, and kill them. So it's good, but Call by the Grave means that you're likely to get more hand trap. But from what I know, I think most people already just play through them. They just gas through it. I think that's the whole point of that entire deck. Then there's also deck gain. So aside from the cards you lost, how do you actually fix it? Is the deck still functional? Oh, absolutely. It's still there. Pack has already posted like a variant using Armageddon Knight and Plague Spreader. I think there's maybe better options, in my opinion, to adapt to it, because Plague Spreader does not exactly synergize. It forces you to go into Christian Halqifibrax if you draw into it. It's like if you go into like you can't. Yeah, it gets really awkward if you draw into it because you want to dump it into the graveyard as soon as you can. There isn't exactly a ton of card dumping operations here, but he did definitely try to maximize it with some DDR. It's because then you have to pay the cost of DDR, which gives you the additional push. And using the Divine Sword, you can definitely banish some monsters to use for the DDR. So, okay, that's fine. I see that there are levels of synergy there. My option that I showed on Twitter, I use Colt Wing and Vylon Sphere. Vylon Sphere was featured previously before for like the hand loop variant, and yes, that is very strong, but the hand looping definitely, I think that kind of got thrown out the window at the moment the O-Line kind of went away. But it's fine. I'm using the Colt Wing because Colt Wing can summon 2 tokens simultaneously, allowing you to revive your Despot 01. Yes, I'm shoving in a Despot 01 for now, but I realized within my combo I didn't even summon Despot 01. So maybe I can completely cut it, and maybe I'm just doing a little quick switcheroo. But I am basing my combos off of whether or not I use Durendal. If I use Durendal, then I will need the Despot 01. If I didn't use Durendal, I don't need it at all. And if I have any other cards, they're just free extenders, and I don't have to burn my hand through Plague Spreader's top decking ability, because if you use Plague Spreader multiple times, you're going to be running out of hand. In other words, if your board gets broken by a simple Dark Ruler no more, or maybe a bad top deck, it's going to be a very, very rough ride. And also, Token Collector is also going to hurt it quite a bit. All right. So in terms of combo, you still end on Herald, Savage, Charles, Aurora Dawn, Hand Rip. The spacing becomes a bit more difficult if you're doing my variant, and if you're gonna start your board with a Gearfried, it's harder to combo for sure using my build, unless you're willing to spend the hand to make sure that your combo goes through. Then you might want to try the Armageddon Night Side, because it doesn't require as much space from what I've seen. And hand traps definitely will do a number on you right now, especially with the Call by the Grave kind of gone. So technically still really strong. Combo paths really, for my personal build, depending if you Durendaled or not, then maybe you can choose whether or not you want to run the Despot 01. And overall, the deck lives on. And as for Dragon Link, what deck losses? What are those? They didn't lose anything. Deck gains, every other deck got weaker. That's what they gained. They also got a Harpy's Feather Duster to kind of take out some of the control matchup. Yeah, overall, they are the winners of the 2020 banlist competition. There's no doubt that Shu is shining on this. And for tier potential, Eldritch is still among the top. Dinosaurs also is basically a secret winner of this banlist. They didn't take a single hit, with Miscellaneous still being at 3. So yeah, well, good luck playing against all those Lost World dinosaurs out there. And then we have Dogmatica. I guess any variant of Dogmatica would count here. And Infernobles, I'm still putting them at top tier potential. They're not dead yet. And if the thing is, once they put you in a simplified game state where they get to look at your hand and rip maybe 2 cards, I don't think you're gonna win against double negate and single pop. It's just not that easy to beat them anymore. And if they have gear feed, that's triple negate. It's just even worse. And then there is our Dragon Links. They're not going anywhere. They are still among the top contenders. They make VFD as well, although I don't know if they're still gonna make VFD. Another top tier contender. This is thanks to Phantom Knights coming back. We have Orcus. I believe Orcus can make the top tier cut this time. And the board that they set up is just as annoying as before, because now Rusty's back. That means we're going to deal with double Fog Blade. That means the negations are going to be live. But the counter to that would be that, hey, what if we get Lightning Storm? Or what if we get X? Remember, they have a what's his name? Dingirzu to kind of protect everything, making the Lightning Storms, making your Dusters just not as potent as we would like. Then there is, of course, Invoked, and I'm not talking about Invoke Shaddoll. I think this is more like Invoke Dogmatica, really, but since they put a little bit of Shaddoll in there, this is all supposed to be mashed with the Dogmatica stuff. But those are the top tier potential. Now let's look at high tier potential. BA. It's pretty much a given. They are a board spammer with this many more options now. We have to think about not what they were in the past, but what we have also so far. And remember, Dragoons is a thing, and I believe BA can quite easily summon Dragoons, and they have quite a bit, especially when they also have the Phantom Knight engine for them to play with as well. Heroes is still here because they're still really strong nonetheless, and they can play with I believe they have the ability to also do the Buster Lock. And Mask Hero Darklaw is a super annoying card. We have another hand-ripping based archetype. We have Atlantean Mermails with hand traps. Well, I guess technically they can move down a slot, because with hand traps being more potent now, because Call by the Grave isn't exactly an option. Luckily for them, this deck can run Mistral, and I believe there's also that field spell, Megalonica, that can also perform the same thing, which can make it a bit more effective. ABC is also here in the top contender. Once they got the second ABC, I knew that they were going to be very potent once again, because with Union Driver, they didn't really get a chance to play with Union Driver very much because of the fact that ABC is limited, and they basically they're like a Ferrari running on like a like a smart car gas tank, it doesn't work. And now they actually have, well, a bigger gas tank. Salamangreat can still OTK you quite easily. Of course, the matchup is more or less solved, so just beware of those parallel Xyzs. Triff is probably mad at me for putting like pendulums as a high tier potential. You can prove me wrong. Maybe give us some results then. And Adamacipator is still high tier because the boards that they build are still very strong. And they have like a lot of legacy stuff to work with, and they can alter their build. So I wouldn't write them off completely. Necroz is still around, Madolche is still around, and of course, hidden potential. There's Necroface, or rather, Gren Maju deck, to put it out that way. And Sky Striker, I kind of put him down a notch, just because unless you're like Ryan U level, most people that I've seen trying to play Sky Striker do not understand like all the other matchups well enough to actually release the potential of this deck. But you guys can prove me wrong. And is there any other deck that I missed? Like, I know not everyone's deck is in there, and if you guys think it's good enough, well, leave it down in the comments section below. What do you think are goods and bads about this ban list? What do you think about the new needle fiber combos? Do you think needle fiber should have been one hit? Well, let me know. And that's all I got for this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, learned a bit more about how the meta is going to shift, well, hit that thumbs up button. If you guys want to see more stuff from MST.TV, I'm going to be working on my Infernoble combo. I'm going to show you guys the deck, how I got there, and what the new fiber combos are. Leave it down. I guess hit the subscribe button, and yeah, I'm gonna show you guys very soon as I can fix up a deck list. I'm also working on a deck with a fellow friend of mine, and that's gonna be not using the needle fiber stuff at all, because he was planning for it, but maybe we'll shove it back in. But we do get a little bit of an update thanks to Rusty. So we'll see you guys when that happens, and have a good day, guys. See you in the next one.